And so it's a CFO, financial expert who works with and in your company, but on a part-time basis and is not part of your company, but is outsourced.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
And welcome. This is Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. And, well, outsourcing, big topic. A lot of things you think you could outsource. There's other things you wouldn't normally think you could outsource, like your CFO. But Hurley Fox is with us now. Hurley, you specialize in being an outsourced CFO. What is that exactly?
So an outsourced CFO is a part-time or full-time position in your small business that is in charge of all things financial and accounting related. And instead of it being in-house CFOs are fairly expensive and in most small business cases, not needed full-time. And so it's a CFO, financial expert who works with and in your company, but on a part-time basis and is not part of your company, but is outsourced.
Okay. So obviously you're not going to be there. How do you do that exactly? It sounds like it could be very complicated.
It can be very complicated. We do it with a few different ways. The first is, thankfully, technology has come a long way, and most of our clients' accounting and data is all online anyway. So typically, the accounting and financial data is all kept in the cloud, so we can access it. And then when working with clients, we typically will have a resource in the company that is kind of our liaison to help us get information or understand kind of what's happening day to day. So it might be an office manager, it might be an accountant, it might be somebody else who we have a relationship with that kind of gives us that boots on the ground presence, but allows us to do all the work remotely.
Okay. So, what do you find the biggest obstacle to people wanting to do this? Because obviously there could be a significant cost savings here, couldn't there?
Yeah, and that's why typically, I talk about the value that we provide instead of just, what the cost is. Some of the obstacles are, as you've already mentioned, right? Well, hey, I feel like I should have somebody in person. And so that's a big obstacle. I will say that COVID really changed that quite dramatically in a pretty quick way. Prior to COVID, those conversations were a lot more difficult. Post-COVID and going through it was a lot easier to say, hey, look, we're not going to be there in person. So that's one. The second is most small businesses don't have the cleanest or the greatest accounting. And so to get it from where it is before we start working with any company to where we want it to be and it's clean is a lot of work. And when most businesses and small business owners are just trying to keep getting sales and keep clients happy and deal with the day-to-day problems of their small business, it can be daunting to say, wow, over the next couple months, I'm going to spend how much time trying to get my accounting correct or to learn about the financials of my company. And so to take that effort is daunting for some, and so they just keep pushing that down the road. I don't have time for it now. I'll get back to the accounting later. It's good enough, right? I've gotten by so far. I don't think I'm good for now. And so those would be the two biggest. Is just shifting to we're not an employee, we're not in person, we're not full time, and then it takes quite a bit of work up front to get the accounting to where we need it to be.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And so what about the personnel at your client's location? Obviously, they've got to be trained, right?
Yeah, which is one thing. When I started the company, I started working with more and more small businesses. I couldn't believe how few small businesses have anybody in their company who has any sort of accounting background or real knowledge. typically they will have a bookkeeper who just kind of learned on the job. And so they know how to do the accounting for that business, but really they're just running through a checklist of here's what this should look like instead of what are the underlying principles that actually need to happen. And so we will either help train people that are there in kind of not only accounting, but proper accounting procedures, right? How do you save files? How do you properly document things? How do you email? How do you, make sure that we can tie this number to kind of a primary source, right? And then, but if they either don't want to be trained or they don't have somebody to train, we will help the small businesses. Either we'll do the work internally and we'll say, okay, somebody on our end's going to do it and they're not there, or hey, we'll help you hire somebody and kind of vet candidates for you in terms of, hey, getting a good accounting resource for you day to day, because it's just amazing how few small businesses have anybody in their company who truly trained in accounting.
Yeah, I believe it. I've seen such things. And obviously, so you want somebody who's maybe not an accountant or did some accounting, right? But really, kind of like in between you and them, and you obviously got to work with that person, right?
Yeah. I've realized a lot of people who are doing the accounting for small businesses, they're like people who know how to play a song on the piano, right? I've learned that one song and I know how the notes go, but I don't know how to read music and play, but I know how to play this one song. That is typical in terms of how like the accounting is getting done for a lot of small businesses. They know that this person is categorized like this, but they don't know why, or they don't know how it's hitting, how it's hitting the books, but they know how to play the notes, and that's getting them by.
Yeah. So someone once told me you can teach a person, you can teach a monkey how to play Mozart, but they don't really know that they're playing Mozart, right?
Right. They're just hacking away at the keys in the right order.
Yeah, exactly. All right. So what are 3 things you do to prepare to have a remote or virtual CFO?
Well, we have the process that we follow is first we onboard, and by onboarding we mean we get your accounting correct. How do you know your accounting's correct? A good kind of quick measure to do this, and most small businesses don't satisfy this test, is go to your balance sheet and you tie out every number on your balance sheet. By tie out, I mean find another piece of paper that backs up that number. For example, if your balance sheet says you have $100,000 in your bank account, you should see a statement or a reconciliation statement that provides the backup for that $100,000. If you have an asset listed for $50,000, where's the purchase document? If you have a liability, where's the loan agreement and the loan and the loan documents? Every number on the balance sheet should be able to tie out to a separate kind of piece of paper. If they all tie out and your balance sheet is accurate and correct, your accounting's going to be in a pretty good place. And so that's where we start is, hey, go down the balance sheet. Can we tie every number out? And then what we'll do is then we look at the profit and loss, and we'll go through with the business owner, because in some cases, this is the first time the business owner will be going through the profit and loss in this way. Let's go down it. Do the categorizations that you have make sense? Is there consistency in how you're doing the reporting? Should this really be a contractor, or is it an employee, or is it marketing? And then once we get that, then we can start comparing month over month to see, okay, is there any inconsistencies? Are vendors booked kind of typically in the right place? And then once that's done, then we're at a really good spot to kind of work month to month. And then working month to month, what we're doing is we're saying, okay, great, we got your accounting to a really good place, and we're checking to make sure your accounting is accurate each month, because that was something that frustrated me early on, as I would see business coaches and consultants working with business owners, and I would ask them, well, what did they say when they saw the accounting? And the client would tell me, well, the coach didn't look at the accounting. They're just helping me get in the right mindset or help grow sales. And so it was always important to me, before we give any sort of advice, is the accounting and the data correct before we give advice? And so then every month we're making sure the accounting's correct. And then we're saying, okay, great. Now, what can we do? Or what do we do with this data? So what are the next steps, action items? So that's kind of a typical process. We onboard using making sure the balance sheet ties out and the profit and loss is consistent and makes sense to the business owner. And then we're going every month, making sure that it stays correct, but then also saying, okay, now what do we do with it?
Got it. All right. So, hey, what kind of savings have your clients realized from using you as opposed to hiring their own CFO?
Well, not only in terms of savings, but also the value we provide. I don't ever put this in a contract, but typically clients will see at least we pay for ourselves within a year, if not provide a 2 to 3x return. For example, if you pay us $50,000 to $60,000 a year, we will be able to save or help you earn at least $60,000 a year, if not 120, 180. So that's typically what clients are seeing. And we do this in a variety of ways. Most of our clients don't have or didn't have full-time CFOs, right? Because in the small business world, to pay for somebody at $200,000 to $300,000 a year is difficult. But you need that person's knowledge and expertise to help drive your company forward, right? So we can give you that knowledge and expertise at instead of $200,000 to $300,000 plus bonuses and payroll and all that, we can give it to you at a fraction of the cost, but you're still getting the value at the level you need. And then what is that value? How is that helping people? In some cases, we're coming in with clients, we're seeing there's just a lot of money in the bank account. Well, in today's world, that should at least be in some sort of money market or laddered CD, earning them interest. How to manage and use debt is another conversation that I have with a lot of clients where they weren't doing it correctly or the best way, but before we kind of got involved. Understanding and help them learn that profit does not mean cash in the bank. That was a question, that's a question I get a lot. I have no money in the bank. How could I possibly be paying taxes, right? So helping them understand that. And then the number one thing in terms of helping business owners get a return on the investment that they will pay our company is focusing on cash flow to the owner. Not cash flow to the employees, not profit, not revenue, cash flow to ownership. What is that number? Is it positive? If not, how do we make it positive? And then if it is positive, how do we grow it? And then once we grow it, what are you doing with that free cash flow? Is it being used intentionally? Is there a purpose for it? Are you measuring the return on that investment? And so those are a couple ways that we, help provide some value to small businesses.
Okay. And all right. So you've got over 150 clients to date?
Yeah, we work with 150 businesses, if not 200, on a monthly basis. There are, of that 150 businesses, there's 30 clients. Mm-hmm. And because typically, you don't really need our services if you're running a fairly simple business, but as businesses either grow or, mm-hmm. in our case, we work with businesses that are complex in the sense of they're multiple entities. And so to try to keep that organized and have clear financials on businesses that, a holding company that has 10 businesses underneath of it is fairly complicated. So we have about 30 clients all across the country in every type of industry. And then in those 30 clients, there's 150 to 200 businesses that we do each month for them.
Right.
And
Got it. All right. Well, hey, it sounds like you're on the right path, and especially with technology being what it is. Hey, how often do you meet? Do you conduct meetings with your clients to help them analyze the data that you compile?
Yeah, a minimum is monthly. I saw when I started, I saw other accountants or outsourced CFO firms doing quarterly, and I just think that's too much time in between. So the minimum we're meeting is monthly. As the client, the bigger the client or the more the higher to the needs of the clients, that increases. Mm-hmm. So in some cases it's bi-weekly, weekly. In other cases, I'm talking to clients every single day because they're either that complex or they're that big. And so we're touching base with them every day.
All right. Hey, we want to find out more about you. We want to connect with you on the web. How do you do that?
You can go to our website, www.foxandpartners.com, FOXAND partners.com, or you can look me up. Thankfully, there's not that many Hurley Foxes in the world. So just type in Hurley Fox in LinkedIn and you'll see me pop up and you can connect with me on LinkedIn.
All right. Hey, well, we appreciate you coming on. Got any questions for Hurley, myself? Email kl@kerrylutz.com. You'll find a link in the show notes to his site on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Please sign up for your free newsletter when you're there. Hurley, wish you the best of luck and be well.
Thanks so much for having me, Kerry.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.